Hello and welcome everyone to our Ready, Set, Smart webinar series where we're providing continuous opportunities highlighting how SMART can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We're going to show you how to create lessons and activities focused on classroom instructional strategies. My name is Laura Barr and I'm a professional development specialist from Texas. In this week's webinar, Slay Your Lessons, Festive Fun with Smartboard Tools features Michelle Conway, a professional development specialist from New Jersey. We encourage participation, so if you have any questions, please ask those in the chat box during the presentation, and we will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the end during a Q&A period. We will be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. And also for participating today, a certificate will be provided to you after you complete a brief survey. So at this point, I'm going to turn things over to Michelle so that we can dive into today's webinar, Slay Your Lessons, Festive Fun with Smartboard Tools.
Thanks, Laura. So today is all about having fun with the smartboard, especially around the holidays. So I'm actually on today on Smart's IQ4 board, but just taking a look, I know Maribel, you have maybe our other board, which I know I had some getting started sessions around that one, but that's called our IQ3 board. But a lot of the things I'm going to be doing here today on this board is very similar to the one, the other IQ experience, and I'll highlight where you would find those tools. But we're going to kick things off in the whiteboard. So I'm going to open up my whiteboard space. And just prep yourself. I'm going to have you join my whiteboard space. Awesome. So I'm going to start this up and I'm going to have you join my whiteboard space. So for most of you, you might be familiar with our other whiteboard, which honestly, there's really no difference. This toolbar is just vertically on the left-hand side. So a lot of the things I'm going to be showing today are very similar. They're all the same tools. But I do want to click on my classroom management tab down here. Typically, you're probably used to it up here on the left-hand corner. But I'm going to click on this classroom management tab, and I'm actually going to have you join my whiteboard. Maribel, no worries. Just make sure you are being safe driving. And I'm going to hit start session. Awesome. Mara's in here. Maybe Laura, if you can just hop in here just for human sake.
That's where I'm headed.
Body sake. Awesome. Okay, perfect. I'm going to stay there, and it doesn't look like it's just, okay, cool. I'm going to get rid of that. So one of the things that, and you can see on the IQ4 now, they do have that like floating code, you know, those students that are always asking you, what's your code again? But I'm going to click out of that so it's not taking up my space. But on the whiteboard, they just did a update on the IQ4 board where I can actually pull in shapes now, which is incredible. If you don't have one of these boards, you will just do an image search for a circle. But I'm going to just bring in a little circle here. So you can see now I can bring in shapes very similar to Lumio, which is pretty cool. I can bring in this circle shape. So what I'm going to have my students do as a little icebreaker, and you guys are my students today, is we are going to decorate an ornament. Maybe it could be a snow globe, it could be an ornament, but I'm going to write some words over here so you know what to do. Decorate a snow globe. It could be an ornament. A lot of people do these types of things anyway, but look how much prep you have to do for them sometimes. You know, the print out the paper with the little circle on it, or you have to pass out the markers and the crayons and all the things. But I'm just going to have you use your computer and all your fun student tools to do this. So I'm going to go back to my classroom management tab, and I'm going to convert this page into an individual handout and go have fun. We'll take about let's take about 2 minutes to design your ultimate snow globe or ornament. So look how quick it is for me as a teacher to just put together a quick little icebreaker. Like I said, and traditionally I would have had to, you know, make the worksheet, print it out, pass them out, pass out all the arts and crafts, which I think are great too, but I don't want to always do it, you know? I'm going to get this out of the way, and I'm going to go under user progress. Let's see how we're doing. So on this activity, I obviously wanted to highlight how quick it is, also to highlight those new shapes if you haven't seen them already. I only will see my students that have hit start. So I know, Maribel, you are just in your car being safe driving, correct? And I'm only going to see the ones that are in my lesson and hit start. All right, I'm going to hop into Laura's, see how she's doing. Oh, what a queen. I knew she was, I knew she was going to make a little appearance. I just knew it.
You knew I had to. I had to.
Let's see what more it's up to. Cute, cute. I see the little smart monsters made an appearance. I love them. I've never understood why we ever maybe don't use them as much anymore. I need them to stay in my life. I have a collectors of, I'll circle the ones that I have on Mard's page. I have, she didn't use it yet, but I have this guy. And I have, where is he? I have this guy. I have actual stuffed animals and they're collectible items. Love. So easy, quick little icebreaker that you could do with your smart board this week, and it would be no lift to you at all as a teacher. All right, so the next activity I told you, this is going to be 5 rapid fire activities so Mark can get to bed before 11 p.m. So this is what we're going to do next. I'm going to go to my graphic organizers, my add page feature. You have this as well on our other IQ3 board. You just need to look for that plus sign. In that plus sign, you're going to have a lot of good stuff. And when I was thinking about this session, I wanted to kind of think of other content areas. So I'm going to open up this blank hundreds chart. And you're going to be like, what are we doing with this, Michelle? We're not doing math. We're going to do some coding. So I'm going to highlight the graphic organizers. I also want to highlight the image search tool. So in my toolbar, again, if you have the IQ3 board, remember your toolbar is vertically off to the side. You have this picture icon, okay? So if I click on this little picture icon, I'm going to point to it so you can kind of see it real quick. Right there. Okay. I'm going to erase that. I would search for Santa. And I found a transparent Santa a little earlier. I think it's this guy. No, it was this guy. Perfect. Oh, maybe he's not transparent. It's okay. And I'm gonna get Santa. I'm gonna make him a little smaller. And Santa's gonna go somewhere around here. Okay. And then I'm gonna go back in my image search and I'm gonna look for a chimney. And I'm gonna grab this guy. All right. And I'm gonna put this chimney. We'll go in this quadrant here. All right. Maybe, yeah, perfect. I'm gonna put it right here. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up little obstacles. So I'm gonna look for a snowball. Perfect, and it's transparent. We love when that works out for us. And I'm gonna just make this a little smaller. And that one's gonna go there. And I'm gonna infinitely clone it. So any object on the page, you can select and get a drop down of an infinitely cloned shape. And I'm gonna just sporadically put these in different places on this board. And now the students now have to tell me, so this is a great first activity when you're introducing them to, sometimes I do like specific instructions or coding. I need the students to use the right vocabulary to get Santa down to the chimney, but if they hit a snow, they cannot go through a snowball. They have to code Santa down to the chimney. So for this activity, they could be up at the whiteboard as a center, or I could shoot this out to their devices as well. But I'm going to have them actually up at the board. And I want them to actually use this space off to the left and right hand side to code Santa down to the top of the chimney. So I might say, maybe I'm working with my partners and I might say, go down 4 spots. So step 1 is going to be go down 4 spots. Or have you guys ever done that type of activity where someone's blindfolded and you have to give specific instructions to them to get them to one spot or another? It's almost the same thing. Maybe one person is moving Santa, but the other person has to give specific instructions. So maybe something like this used to be used as hundreds frame, but I'm using it today as a way to teach my students how to code. Or maybe, are you a math teacher? Maybe I want to teach them the quadrant, X and Y quadrants. And I might say, go down -4/5 and teach them how to get to the chimney using quadrants. Maybe put in a chat, do you see another idea that you could potentially do with something like this? Ordered pairs, exactly, Laura. So I could be like, -4/3. Where does that get Santa now? He's gonna go -4. Oh, over 3 hits me here. So I'm gonna bring Santa back to the starting spot. Maybe I put a little star here so they know this is the starting spot. I love that. Ordered pairs, like starting to get them thinking through ordered pairs, because that is really hard for them to understand conceptually. So something like this could be a fun way to introduce them to ordered pairs. I love that. I actually might use that in the future math session. All right, we rocking and rolling. Rocking and rolling. Yes, practice numbers in different languages. Totally. Like even just language vocabulary in general, right? Like going down, go over right, go left. Obviously you can't go, maybe go under the snowball. What does that mean? So something like this could definitely be a good language practice as well. I love that, Mart. And then what's nice about it is like I could clear out all of the snowballs by using my select tool, or I could just literally select them, delete this one. And maybe I just set up like a new, Santa's gonna be down here now, and the chimney's gonna be over here. And we're gonna set up new obstacles. So it's so quick to restart it for a new student and a new problem. You might be able to use something like Battleship. I love that. Like just using, I think my idea for this one was that you might not think to gravitate towards the blank hundreds chart because you think it's just for a hundreds chart, but there is other ways that you could use this graphic organizer. So I love that. But in terms of using the graphic organizer for said graphic organizer, another amazing idea is for writing teachers. So a lot of times I just feel like a lot of teachers gravitate towards maybe some of the same graphic organizers, right? The brainstorming web, the Venn diagram. But I actually found, I don't know if anyone uses this one, but I love the story map one when you're starting to think about writing with your students and using this so they could set the stage for a story. So I'm actually going to let's put a couple holiday problems, like fun holiday problems you would want to write a story about, have your students write a story about. I think the one on my Instagram was Santa got lost in a snowstorm. What could be another fun problem we would want the students to solve? Let's see. Rudolph's nose. All right, so Rudolph nose isn't lighting up anymore. Love it, love it. So maybe I set up the problem ahead of time for my students. And again, I'm gonna go change this to an individual handout, but I'm also gonna add a sequence chart for them, okay? So after they come up with their story, they actually have to design the sequence chart of events of their said story. Of course, this is a static image, so they could add some notes on the bottom if they run out of space. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to this page real quick, and I'm gonna turn the next page into an individual handout as well. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bring everyone back to this page, but in my classroom management tab, I'm gonna turn this into student pacing. So I'm gonna allow the students to go at their own pace instead of pushing them to one spot or the other. So I'm gonna change this to student pacing, and now the kids can go through the slides on their own. So they can go make their story, and then they can go over there into the other option, which is the sequencing chart. What's also cool is maybe I want to give them 30 minutes to do this. So I'm going to just quickly opt out of here. And I'm gonna open up YouTube real fast. So on our IQ4 boards, which I'll talk about in just a second, is you can have apps on here, and YouTube is already one of the apps. And I'm gonna search for a 30-minute timer. Perfect. Let it load up. And I'm just gonna pop it down here at the bottom and then open up that whiteboard again. So now my students see the work that they're doing, but they also can see the, my slow student pacing. Perfect. They can see the timer, but I can also show my work up here. Just gotta let it load up. Sometimes it's a little slower. Perfect. So I can open up user progress. You see that my YouTube video never moves, so we're still at 29 minutes. But maybe I just move this a little out of the way. I pull up that teacher handout so they at least see the problem maybe up on the board, but they have the floating YouTube with their problem up here. So just a couple ways that you could maybe push this out. Again, didn't have to do a lot of prep on my end. Like I usually, again, maybe would have had to print this out or what have you to have them fill this out. Again, I just pulled up the graphic organizer, used my pen to write the problem, and then just pushed it out to my students' devices. Anything I'm missing there, Laura, that you would want to add in there?
No, I think that's great. I think the important thing is making sure that that student pacing is turned on so that they can switch between the sequencing graphic organizer and their story elements.
Yeah, so when I popped out of there, it must have switched, it must have took the student pacing off. So it's just a fun little tip to
Oh,
keep
the
in
students
mind.
will absolutely let you know, you know?
They would let us know. So just keep in mind, you saw that I popped out of there to grab that YouTube. I would just have to hop back into there and change the pacing back to student. Beautiful. All right, I have like two more examples before we kind of wrap up. And there's so many things that you probably could do, but I just wanted to highlight a few things. I'm going to bring in a blank page this time. And I'm going to get rid of this floating YouTube video. And I am going to, this one's an interesting one. I'm going to open up a snowflake. And let's see if I can get a good one. I'm going to look up clip art. This is for more of the younger ones, our kinders, even like, I mean, to your to your point, Mara, maybe it's teaching them different an English language learner type student. Let me see if I can find a good snowflake. I might have to use the snowball. Let's do a snowball. So any one of these shapes, again, you can infinitely clone, but I'm going to write with my text pen a word on it. I could probably leave it just the way it is, but I'm going to just showcase the text pen real quick. Perfect. And maybe ahead of time, like I set up a bunch of these ahead of time. And I'm going to do, maybe this is going to be, if I use my selector tool, I can select these two together and I can group them together right here on the board. Same thing here, I'm going to group these two together. Couple things I could be doing here. For the little ones, maybe they need to unscramble the sentence. Maybe I have different words on here and they have to create a sentence and drag it down to create a little sentence. So it could be like sentence starters or sentence, learning the sentence. What is that? Structure, right? So that's a fun way that you could do it. And it was all just because I grouped them together. Or maybe I have them like in a box. They need to choose a character, they need to choose a setting, and they need to choose a problem. And what they have to create a little story at the center based off the little words that they pull down. But using both the image and group text, it didn't really take me that long. I would just maybe prep this a little bit more ahead of time with different things and different words on there. Maybe I just had words on the snowballs And then the students continue to use their text pen. I want you to find all the words that end in ENT. And they just need to go up here and they have to circle all the snowballs that end in that word. So there's so many different ways that I could have set this stage up for a center, but just using images and group text. Again, I could have put numbers on there. So for example, maybe I ungroup these two. And maybe I put numbers on here instead. Goodbye, Santa. Again, maybe I have my line down here and they have to pull different numbers down and they have to do different number sentences or even circling. I want you to find all the odd numbers. I want you to find all the even numbers. There's so many ways that I could have gone about just using snowballs and text on it, on top of it.
I love
Any other?
grouping.
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I was gonna say, I love grouping. I think it's a small but great thing to be able to do. And so I love that you were able to do that in no time at all. And like you said, there's so many different things that ways you could have set this up, but I think every single one that you're showing us is great.
And honestly, like technically, in technical speaking, you didn't even need the snowball, but I just think it's just a fun element to add to the center, right?
They made it cuter, lots of different things, especially this time of year. And I'm sure there's lots of places that actually have snow on the ground. So yes.
Exactly, exactly. So that's another fun little activity you could do just with this whiteboard tools right from here. And right now I've already highlighted like a few of our text pen. We have our text pen there. Remember our images. I also have in my 3 dots. Now I have shapes for anyone who has the IQ4 board, which is fun. So in theory, I could have maybe brought out a circle and called it a snowball. I have my classroom management tab. You all could see we're in here and interacting with certain activities that I wanted you to interact with. And then you have your plus sign with all the goods in there too. So my point with the blank punches chart is don't shy away from it just because it says blank punches chart. Sometimes you just have to think a little bit outside the box of how you might use that graphic organizer for your content area. But then there are some really good ones in here. I decided one day that I needed to step away from the Venn diagram. I had to just walk away from it because I always use it. And same thing with the brainstorming web. They're amazing graphic organizers, but there's some really other good ones in here as well. So my last thing I want to show is highlighting on our new IQ4 board the Play Store. So in our Play Store, in the Google Play Store, you can essentially download any app depending on how your structure is set up at your district. But if you have access to your Play Store, there's a million apps that you can download. But one of my favorite apps to use is Google Earth. I think Google Earth is really powerful for students. I taught in an area where students aren't always able to go on vacations or go, travel to Finland if they wanted to. So this is a fun way to kind of get them in perspective of where what's around in that location using Google Earth. You can basically use Google Earth on any board. You would just open it up in the browser. But from here on IQ4, I can actually search for apps. And ahead of time, I already did this, but I searched for Google Earth and I installed the Google Earth app. So now the Google Earth app is here on my IQ4 board. So one of my favorite things about Google Earth, and this just takes some time if you have the time to do it, but Google Earth used to have this thing called Google Voyager. I think now it's just like a Google Earth project, but you can create tours for your students. You can see here I've done the most mathematically interesting structures in the world, but I also made today famous holiday stories. So the idea of this is maybe they have a worksheet in front of them and they have to take some notes, or maybe we're reading these stories in class. So there's a couple different ways, but I thought it was fun to show them that, fun fact, some of the most popular stories that we read on the holidays are actually based in real areas of the world. So I am going to start this slideshow. And me and the students are traveling all over the world. So the Christmas Carol is actually takes place in London. I have some information over here. So this would be a center as well, having the students read about the stories and where they're from and why they're from. Why did Charles Dickens write A Christmas Carol about London? Same thing. We're going on the Polar Express. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the Polar Express is based off of the Grand Rapids, Michigan. Very interesting, right? So again, just exploring different ways of engaging them here up on the smart board. I love a good virtual field trip. The Nutcracker is based out of Nuremberg, Germany. So maybe we're taking some notes about that. Rudolph, as always, is based in the ocean. No, I'm kidding. The North Pole does not show up on the Google Earth, so that's why that did not show up. But then finally, The Grinch That Stole Christmas is actually based out of Mount Tom in Massachusetts, which is very interesting. But what I could do with something like this is, of course, they could have a worksheet in front of them, but I'm going to back up a little bit. What I could do is use my toolbar down here. This is called your navigation bar. And in your navigation bar, there's something called split screen. So for my IQ4 or IQ3 board, so the other version of this board, you do also have split screen. It's this square with two lines, dead center. You see the home button, and then there is that square with two lines right in my navigation bar. That actually lives up the top left corner for my IQ3 boards. However, this is called split screen. So maybe on one side, I'm going to pop the Google Earth. So you see that I have the word split. And on the other side, maybe I have whiteboard. So as we're going on said journey of the famous stories, we could be taking notes over here. Maybe I give a little bit more space for Google Earth because that's the main point here. And maybe, okay, let's look at where Grand Rapids, Michigan is. We're going to go down to Street View. Here we go, down we go. Woo! And they could be exploring Google Earth while we're taking some fun notes over on this side of the board. I don't think the Polar Express was probably based off of this street, but we're close enough.
I love that you went to Google Maps, kind of had all of that, are in split screen, but yet student pacing is still going. So we're able to stay with you, stay connected throughout that whole workflow that you just did.
Exactly. And as always, like if I'm done with my notes, maybe I just pull this out and we just dive right back into Google Earth. So really simple ways. I did not leverage Google Slides. I did not have a Lumio prepped. This was all just what can I do right from the board without thinking about another platform, PowerPoint, Canva, Google Slides, none of it. There is all tools right here on my whiteboard and on my smartboard in general. I did link this Google Earth tour on our resources. So if you're ever interested in it, you can absolutely reach out to me. And if for some reason it's not like editable, you can always reach out to me and I'm happy to share something like that with you. Alrighty, so maybe before we wrap up, I just want to hear what, and very point for my Lumio users real quick here. Anything that I create here on my whiteboard populates here on the back end in my Lumio account. So if I ever wanted to, share this out for a student that was absent or add it as a resource on my Google Classroom, I can always just take this link and share it out with my students. Okay, I can also share this out with Laura if like we're co-teaching together. Hey, this is what I did in class today. I can always share out my whiteboard to her just right from here from Lumio. One thing to keep in mind with your whiteboards, they always show up as like this little date. And also like sometimes it's just blank because maybe the first page had nothing on it. So it's always based off that first page. All right, so let's hop back in here. And before we completely wrap up today, would love to hear some of your favorite things you saw today. Pop it in the chat. I love that way. Use the 100 charts for more than just math. Love that. Alrighty, so while you put some of those ideas in there, let's just kind of, talk you through some of your resources moving forward. You always have our communities. We're always posting resources, discussion questions, upcoming events here on our Global Communities Ambassador group. If you've never heard about our ambassador group, it's a nice place for you to share your learning. It's also an exclusive place. It's not open for everyone, just those that want to be a part of it. You can gain certifications and badges. You can connect with people globally. That's how we connect with people like Marit. It's always always am inspired by all the amazing things that she's doing. We always post sneak peeks in there as well, so our ambassadors find out a little bit ahead of time. For anyone else when something new is coming. We also have our YouTube channel. We are doing webinars just like this in 2025. This was our last smart one of the 2024 season. I can't believe it. We have one more Lumio one on Thursday. So look out for that one. And then we have our academies as well. So if you are someone who just needs to dive into something free, self-paced, guided learning, that coursework is going to be super helpful for you. And they always start with a getting started course, and then they level up to level 1, level 2, and we have it for both Smart and Lumio. And as always, make sure you are filling out today's survey to learn more about or to get your certification for being here today.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. And thank you guys for learning with us today. I'm going to give you a little bit of time to complete that survey. Grab that link I put in the chat. But thank you, Michelle, for showing us how to slay our lessons with the Smartboard tools. And like she said, we have a couple webinars coming up, but we hope that you have a wonderful holiday and a happy new year if we don't see you before then.